Hey there Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. Be sure to visit us at wargamesdelivered.com to get the paints, miniatures, and supplies used in this video, and also to refer a friend. You guys will both get a $15 discount, and with that, let's get into the video. In this video, I wanted to test out a paint scheme for my last red cap in the Neverborn starter box, and this was also a good opportunity to try to replicate a paint scheme I did with the 1.0s originally, using the new speed paint line. So I'll be using much of the same technique I used for the other red cap in our previous video here. The only difference is I thinned the original speed paints on the other model with water and medium. Here I'm just using medium. And here I'm using bright red. I thinned each of these paints down about to a 1-to-1 ratio with the medium, and I think you'll see in the comparison shots the difference in quality of the newer speed paints. And as always, I'm using a bit of matte white from the acrylic line to clean up any mistakes in between speed paint steps. Keep this paint nearby or on your wet palette to make this process a little bit quicker. I tend to do this in between every step just to clean up and make sure that my palette is kind of clean before I go back for another speed paint. And with the matte white, I'm just thinning it down with a bit of water since it's a normal acrylic. I typically use 2 coats over these spots to really get a clean finish. Once those 2 steps are dry, we'll switch over to some of the more finicky areas here, starting with Bony Matter to paint the head of the model. Again, if you need to, go back to matte white to clean up. I do this all the time because my hands aren't always very steady. Now we'll move on to Ruddy Fur, which is a nice medium reddish brown, and we're looking to paint all of the wooden parts of the model here, like his arms and legs. I left the handle of the scythe blank for now because we'll come back later with another brown for a bit of variation. For any newcomers to the channel, thanks for checking us out. We have giveaways attached to all of our videos. Be sure to check out the top link in the description to enter in the giveaway, and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our active giveaways. Now that the Ruddy Fur is dry, we can switch over to the new formula of Slaughter Red, and we're looking to paint his cloak with this color. As you can see right away, the flow on this new version is fantastic. This was one of the colors in the 1.0 speed paint line that I struggled with, so it's great to see an improvement here. This color will also contrast the bright red from earlier very well, since it's a bit more rich and also has a bit of a purplish tint to it as well. For anyone interested in trying out these paints for themselves, we do have a pre-order for the SPEEDPAINT 2.0 mega set, which is what I'm using here, available on our website now. The set releases on the 22nd of April, so there's plenty of time to get your orders in. Check out the description for a link to the pre-order page. As you can see with the close-up before, that dried and created some very cool gradients in the recesses on its own. So moving on, we'll paint the handle of the scythe now using Satchel Brown, and this is a very dark reddish brown. Be very careful around the hands and the cloak that we painted in the previous steps, because this color will stain those if you're not too careful. And be sure to turn the model and adjust it however you need to make it easier to reach those areas. And if you make any mistakes, just clean up with the matte white before you go back to the speed paint. You need to fix that spot. I also use this paint to experiment with 2 coats, and I really like how it turned out here. So now that some of those more intricate details are out of the way, we can paint the hat using bright red again. I avoided this step at first because I knew I'd make a few mistakes on the hat along the way, and I figured it'd just be easier to clean up if it was still the base color from that point. And we're thinning it down with the same amount of medium here, really just trying to go for the exact same tone and color that we have on the magical effect that we painted in the first step. Now we can move on to the blade of the scythe using Broadsword Silver, and we're going to be adding a few other steps to make this metallic pop in the next few steps. You can also paint the bolts on the handle of the scythe for an extra bit of detail as well. With that dry, it looks pretty good on its own, but to enhance it a bit, we're going to use the wash dark tone to add some extra shading to the recesses of the metallics. And whenever you're using washes of any brand, you'll want to give smaller areas like this about 20 to 30 minutes to really dry for it to set in. And once that's dry, we'll do a quick dry brush over the blade using plate mail metal, just to add a quick highlight to the area. And for our final step here, we'll go back to bright red again to add a bit of detail to the scythe, using this to paint all of the small dots on the blade and also using the brush to make small splats of paint on the blade as well. You can switch to a smaller brush for finer control in this step. And really it's up to you how much you want to add in this stage. And once that's done, all that's really left to do is varnish the model and finish the base off. I also colored in the eyes of the model with a little bit of matte black. During this process, I noticed how much better the flow of the 2.0 speed paints are when thinned down correctly. I think using them at a 2-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-1 ratio is really the key with the medium when working with these paints. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more painting tutorials, and also be sure to check out the top link in the description to take part in the giveaway attached to this video. Thanks again guys, and happy wargaming!